Okay, welcome to my podcast. This is my friend Jake. This is going to be my first podcast with a guest. And I got a list of things here we're going to go over. We're going to start right now. All right.
Let's get it.
I'm going to start by introducing. Actually, you start by introducing how we became friends. Actually, introduce yourself first, then we'll talk about how we became friends.
Should I talk to the camera or should I talk to you?
Just me.
Okay. Well, how we met?
Yeah.
Or introduce myself.
You first, and then we'll talk about how we met.
I'm Jake Hines.
You can talk to either one, whichever
Yeah.
you come.
Well, I'm Jake Hines. I grew up in Springfield by him, and 22 years old. I'm in the Army. I feel like that's all there is to really know about me.
All right, and you guys know me. I'm Tanner. I'm 24. I'm also from Springfield, but more specifically Riverton. And me and him met whenever I was 21. No, I was 22, and he was 20, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
I was 20.
Okay, and you can go ahead and start that story if you want. I'll just jump in whenever I think that maybe you're missing something.
Should we give names?
No names.
No names. Okay, so I had this friend. Should we give her a name?
Her? No, I can't give her a name.
Okay, so
We'll call her Sally.
Sally. Okay. We have this friend Sally, and I had this friend Sally. We've been friends since early junior high, in the same friend group. She was like one of my best friends, and so back in the day, I used to dabble in some drugs.
Extracurriculars.
Some extracurriculars, yeah. And she invited me over one time to hang out, and we both got a little cartridge of extra credit, and she got it from somebody that supplied her, so she bought it for me, and I forget what time it was, but we forgot it that she bought it for me, and I never paid her back. But maybe like 8 months later, she texts me, and she's like, "Hey, remember when I got you that? You owe me $40." And I was like, "Oh yeah, no biggie." And she was adamant about getting it right then, and I said, "Yeah, I can bring cash over. Like, I have cash." But I had just switched banks, and so I didn't have a debit card, so I couldn't Venmo her. And so she's like, "Yeah, that's fine, just wait and Venmo me." I said, "Okay." And so I planned on just waiting, and this makes me look bad because like it just doesn't sound believable. But so the bank ended up like messing up my credit card, like it got fucked up, and so it took me like 3 months to get my debit card, and every single day for like a month and a half. Sally.
I gotta bleep it.
Yeah, bleep that shit. But Sally would text me asking about the money, and I told her every day. I was like, I still don't have my card, it's messed up. I explained it to her. But she would still text me every day. And I was cool about it because like I owed her money, like I'm gonna pay my debts. But she could not drop it. And it started to piss me off. And I told her, I was like, "Hey, you need to chill. Like, I'll pay you when I get my card. Like, I'm not gonna like scam you of your money." And I told her that. I kind of told her off. And this is when Tanner comes into the story. It's like 1 a.m. and I had been asleep, but I get a call from Sally. Fuck. Bleep that shit again. Okay, I'm not gonna say names anymore.
I didn't even catch that
one. I'm not gonna say the name anymore. But I get a call from her, and her and I had like a very like, we had been friends for so long, so like we were very cool. Like she was like a bro more than like, she wasn't a girl to me. And I get a call from her, and this sounds fucked up, but I was like, "What do you want?" I said something crazy. I was like, "It's 1 a.m. Why are you calling me, bitch?" And Tanner is on the phone, and I had seen Tanner on her story maybe like once or twice, but I don't think they had been together very long, like maybe a couple weeks at this point. But Tanner answered, he's like, "You don't talk to my girl like that." And like, I think I I'm not like a confrontational person, but if somebody wants to be like that towards me, I like to mess with them. Like, and that's all I was doing. I was just kind of playing with them because I didn't have any beef.
He called me a cuck on the phone specifically.
Yeah, but so he's like, you don't talk to my girl like that. I was like, pretty sure I talk to her how I want, and I was just being a dick. But he was telling me that I needed to get her the money right then, and he said, I'm gonna come grab something worth $40. And I was like, don't do that, my mom's gonna get mad, because I live with my mom at this time. And so we like hang up, but then he asked me on Snapchat, and we were going back and forth.
I told him I'm gonna call you in the morning so we can talk about it again. So I called him in the morning. It was about 9 a.m. And then in the morning he said, we were going back and forth on the phone, and he said, you were trying to fight me over this? And I was like, I didn't say I'm trying to fight you over this. I'm just going to take something worth $40. And then we went back and forth a little bit until we hung up. And then I'll let you continue the rest.
But so I didn't really hear from him much after this. Like, it kind of like blew away. Still don't have my card at this point. But I remember one time I used to work at a bank, and I'm working doing my thing, but this girl, she banked at the bank that I worked at, and
because they are from the same city.
Yeah, we went to high school together and stuff. But so I worked at this bank, and I see her car pulling up, and I see her in the passenger seat, and I was like, "Ooh, Tanner's here." It was very hostile. Like I remember he pulled up and he called me a pussy, and like I worked like he came through the window and like through the drive-through. And so the speaker that I speak to him on, the whole lobby can hear. And so like my boss is behind the line.
Now it makes me look bad.
Like the manager or whatever, they were all back there, and he's like calling me a pussy and stuff through that mic, and there's guests or like customers there. And so like I just kind of take it. Like I don't think I said anything back.
No,
really.
you didn't. You could tell you were awkward though. You didn't feel like you. I felt like you didn't want to be in that situation.
I was very uncomfortable because we were at my job. I was like, this is like getting personal. And so I am doing the transaction for her, and my boss comes up to me and she's like, what is going on? I was like, I'll explain it to you when they leave, but it's not a big deal. Like, I'll get them out of here. It'll be tight. And so I do that transaction. I put it back in the tray, and this is so, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember this so well. There's free pens in the tray, and like I had put one in there so that they could write on it, and he's like, I'm taking this, and I was like, they're free, have one, do you want a sucker too? Do you remember that?
I think I remember it a little bit. I remember taking the pen.
Yeah, but I remember being like, you can have a sucker too. But then after that, I really didn't hear from you for a good while, maybe another month. Still don't have my card.
But during that month, he didn't know, but during that month, I was pretty mad. So every time that I would go over to my girlfriend's, I would drive by his house to see if his truck was there. And then little did I know, I don't know if you had gotten a new car at that time.
No, I
but
still had.
You weren't there ever because you had moved somewhere. You were living somewhere else, I believe.
I was still in this house. I was just never there because I worked and I was always gone.
Yeah, but I was just driving by to see if he was there, and if he was there, I was going to just knock and talk to him, but I could never find him. And then one day I was going to go to her school, which is like an hour and a half away, and I went by her house to drop something off for her parents, and then right when I'm leaving, here he is right in front of me. Hines, on the license plate. And I FaceTimed my girlfriend, and I was like, you'll never guess who's in front of me. And then she's like, who? And I said, Jake. And then I was following him, and then the lane opens up to 2 lanes. So I get to the side of him, and I think I was telling him to pull over. It's just talking shit to him. Then we get to the next stoplight, and I was mad at this time. I was furious. So I set my phone down while I was on FaceTime with my girlfriend, and then I ran up to his window. And I'll have you explain that, because I was so
I
heated,
had to
can't
add
really
something to
remember.
this.
Okay,
so like I'm driving, I'm leaving my neighborhood. It's a normal day. I was going to buy some pants. Like I was going.
I remember you going to buy pants actually. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Oh, I know why you know.
Yeah.
But I was going to get pants after work, and I'm just leaving my neighborhood, and I see. I literally just pulled out of the neighborhood, and I look in my rearview mirror, and I just see somebody like screaming, and it was Tanner. But so I was like, oh shit, like this is about. He's pissed. Like this is not gonna be good. And so like we exit the neighborhood, and there's like a left-hand turn that we take to get on this like highway. And I'm driving down that, and he like pulls up to me, and he's like screaming at me, and like I think I'm more kind of shocked, but also like it was kind of funny because like at this time I still had no beef with you. Like I didn't know you. I don't
Right.
hold beef with people, so it's just still kind of funny to me. But I was like, oh shit, like low key a little scared. I was like, he's about it, and so.
Well, let me preface that. We're from different schools. In his school, I'd say there's probably less fighting than there was at my school. So it was more
sure.
normalized at my school for people to fight over their problems.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was as normalized to that from his school, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's very true. But so we go up to this stoplight on like at this intersection where I'm about to turn left. So I'm in the left turn lane, but it's been a red light. So there's like 10, 15 cars around us, and he's parked right behind me. And this motherfucker gets out of his car, and I was like, oh shit! I flicked my lock on my truck door because I had no power anything in that thing. I was like, oh shit! I flipped that thing, locked it up. He comes up and he's like, get out of the fucking car, pussy! Like calling me out, and I'm probably look like a bitch to everybody there, but I'm like, no fucking way! I'm getting out of this car right now. And he's, I don't know. I don't want to.
I tried to pull the door open, but the door was locked. So at first I yanked on it for a second. I was like, I'm going to get a charge if I rip the door open because it's going to break the door handle. And then I was mad, and I kept telling him to get out. So I was just dink, 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 3 punches to the window. And I remember my knuckles started bleeding a little bit. And then I saw the light turn green out of the corner of my eye, and he starts rolling forward. As he's rolling forward, I punched the corner of the... Scary. I punched the corner of the window, and I don't remember if it buckled inwards or what, but I think my blood from my knuckles was on the window.
It was.
And he drove off, but my car that I had at the time was stuck in limp mode, so that means it was in third gear. And I was trying to chase him, but I had actually missed the light. And as I was walking back to my car, the woman behind me, her face was like this. She was so scared. And then I had my shirt off and everything. I'm pretty sure I had my shirt off.
Yeah, you took your shirt off while we were driving. Falling out to that light, bro. I was gonna say that, but I don't want to make you sound crazy.
I just don't like to have my shirt on if I was gonna get in a fight, because then they can grab it.
But so I pulled off, and I was like, "Fuck this! I'm not going to get in a fight at Farm at Home." And so I take a left and like go back to my house, and as I'm taking this left, I don't think you saw me make that turn.
No,
and
I didn't.
you like flew by me. And so I drove home, and I call my friend, his like ex-girlfriend. I'm like, yo. And she's like, I was like, do you know what just happened? And she's like, yeah. And I was like trying to make an agreement. I was like, I forget what happened, but I told her, I was like, this has got to stop. Like, I know I owe you your money, but like we figured it out, I would Venmo you. I still don't have my card. Like this is crazy. Like we used to be such good friends, and like you're throwing it all away over $40 and a new boyfriend. At this point, I did not fuck with you.
I know that.
Like I had no beef until there was blood on my window. I was like, this is fucking nuts. Cause that like you said, where I'm from, like we don't fight like that. And she was, I mean, straight up a bitch about it. Like she was like, well, maybe if you pay me, this wouldn't happen and all this bullshit. And I was like, are you being dead ass? Like, that's fucking crazy. And so I told her, I was like, I'm not paying you anymore. I was like, the fact that you just said that, like, I am not paying you. Like, that is absolutely fucked up. And she, like, started, like, cussing me out, telling me I was a bad friend and stuff. And I wasn't hearing that because she wasn't being a good friend. And that's my fault. I should have just drove over and given her cash. But so, like, I go home, and I probably looked a little rattled, I guess. I was probably just thinking heavy. Like, I was pissed at some guy that I barely know is punching my windows. I go home and I tell my mom about it, and she's like, "Oh my god!" She like freaked out. My mom, so she's a nice woman, but she gets worried about me, and so she was like, "You need to get this figured out." And she had this new boyfriend, my mom did, and so he's like, we were drinking that night, and he was like, "I'll go over there and give it to him myself." And I was like, "You don't need to do that, man. Like, I'm gonna look like a bitch if my mom's boyfriend brings over some money." And so I was heavily thinking about just driving over that night and like bringing in cash and being like, "Here's the cash. I don't have my card still." But like soon, like a couple days after that, I got my card, and I was like, I don't want to say like I took the high road, because I think we were both being kind of brats, like, or fuck, my friend and I. But I was like, I'm just gonna Venmo her. I finally got my card, and this whole time, like, my friends that are like, we have mutual friends, and they're texting me. They're like, "Yo, what's the beef?" She's like putting you on her story, her main story, her private story. She's like adding you so hard. Like, everyone's like knowing about this, and I had no clue because I didn't have her on Snapchat after the whole beef thing. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna pay her. I want to look at, oh, I have a new Venmo, but I remember putting something.
I remember what it said.
I was like, "Hey, Lily Story, I finally got my card. Please tell Tanner to quit punching my windows." And
Yeah.
then I put a heart.
I started laughing when I saw it.
And then it was done. Like, it was clearly just we didn't have beef. It was just that he was trying to be good for his girlfriend. And
Yeah. To me, I just felt disrespected, but the type of person that I am is I'm a very forgiving person, so like, someone can make a mistake, I'll just, you know, especially if they try to make it right, I'm gonna forgive that. And then, probably, 3 months later, 2 months later?
I think it was a bit later than that.
Yeah.
I want to say like 4 or 5 months, because at this, even longer than that. I want to say maybe half a year, because
Yeah, that was like August, and then it was probably in the spring, or even the summer of next year.
I think it was the summer, because
Actually, there's something that happened in the middle of it. Before we became friends again, I hung out with one of his good buddies, and we were all doing some extracurriculars together. And I had never met him, so whenever his buddy came over, he's a big dude. He came in and he like looked at me funny, and like just stared at me funny, and I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "What's up?" And then I was like, put my hand out and shook his hand, said, "I'm Tanner," and he's like, he said his name, and then basically he sat down and we started our extracurriculars, and he just looked at me and goes, "I thought we were gonna have to fight." And I was like, "Nah, man, I'm chill. Like, that shit's the past and I'm over it." But then we're hanging out for probably an hour and a half, and then he calls. This was like within the time he was probably still upset about it, because it was shortly after. And he calls and said, "You're hanging out with Tanner?" And then he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You're a pussy."
I said that?
Yeah. It was to Damon. Whenever we were all hanging out, me, him, Ethan, and a couple others.
Probably Hannah.
Yep. And basically, for me, I was like, telling them at that time, I was like, you could tell him, like, I'm not mad about it or anything still. Like, I probably would be his friend now at this point. And then, yeah, probably a few months after that, at least a few months, then I went over to their house. Well, he was living with that guy who I had met. And I went over there, and basically he said, it was just going to be me and the dude, and I didn't know if he had any friends or what. But when I got there, he was there. And I didn't know that was going to be the case. So I wasn't sure what was going on, if they were like mad or what. So I still was kind of on edge when we started our extracurriculars. And then after about 5 minutes, he said something to me. He's like, there's no beef or hard feelings from me.
I remember exactly what I said.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had like pulled up, he pulled up, and I knew he was coming. But like, I didn't care anymore at this point. Like, I never wanted to fight him, but I just didn't really care for him. But our buddy, Damon is his name.
Yeah, he don't care.
Yeah, I live with Damon, and we went to high school together. But Damon's like, "I'm gonna invite Tanner over and have him participate with us," and I was like, "Okay, I don't care. This might be funny." Like, we might have an interesting night.
Right.
And so Tanner pulls up, and like Damon, he was worried. Like Damon and our buddy Nick were there.
Yeah,
It was us
Nick.
three there, and then Tanner was gonna come over, and Nick and Damon were like, dude, I don't want this to be should he not come? Like, I don't want it to be a big deal. Like, I don't want there to be a fight at our house. I was like, dude, I am not gonna fight him. Like, we're chill. Like, I don't have it. I'm not holding that grudge. Like, we're cool. And so I told him, I was like, I'm not gonna be buddy with him. Like, he's gonna come over. I'll talk in conversation, but I'm not gonna be like, how's your day? But I'm like a very forgiving person as well. And so like, we're sitting there, like he's been there. We're talking kind of to each other, like through conversation throughout the group. And like, it kind of goes silent. And I remember I was like, fuck it. And I looked over at Tanner. I was like, I haven't seen you in a while. and like, this is when I knew that like we were just caught up in a weird situation, because I actually like gained a lot of respect from him just through like 10 minutes of conversation after I said that, because he immediately apologized to me and kind of
I felt bad. I did, because like, you know, he's probably just got himself in a situation and then didn't realize at this time I was such an aggressive human, like to so many people. It wasn't just him. He just happened to be in the crossfire at one point, and he was joking on the phone really whenever he had said anything disrespectful. It was mostly just jokes, but I didn't know him, so I didn't take it that way. So it was partially, you know, a lot of it was me. So I had to apologize and let him know that there's no hard feelings at that point.
and it made me realize we were a lot like more similar than
Definitely.
we were different. Like, I remember apologizing too about I was the cuck. I was being a dick.
We both took responsibility at first, or well, beginning of when we were talking to each other for what we did wrong, and then conversation actually started flowing. We all had a good night, hanging out.
Yeah, it ended up being a really good night. We like started becoming chill, and then
Yeah.
there's a legendary picture of us. I don't know if you can put it on there, but maybe blur out the thing. But it was a good night from then. Like, we were helping each other's out, patting each other's backs.
Yeah.
It was cool. And then I don't remember the time we hung out after that.
That's a good question. The first time after that,
It had to have been with Damon again. Oh, I think it was at Ethan's. We all went, and there was a bonfire outside, and you and her
Yeah.
came, and then it was me, Book, Damon, Ethan,
Yeah.
Hannah, and her.
yeah, and he didn't say anything to her, and she was confused.
Because I had no beef with him anymore, but like my friend, like his ex-girlfriend, I did not fuck with her at all. Like, I didn't know him enough to like judge him. Like, through our beef, I guess, what you want to call it. But like, this girl, like, I had known her for so long, she threw me away over $40 and a new boyfriend. Like, completely abandoned me as a friend, and that was disrespectful. In mine, like, maybe I should have. I don't know. Maybe I should have just paid her instead of saying I'm not gonna pay her. But she was on my ass about the funds, and it like pissed me off because I could have given her money, but she wasn't taking the cash. So it was like, maybe I'm a child for still being like that, but I just can't see myself being her friend anymore. So at that time, I did not say a word to her. Not a single word.
And she took it personally, but
That's what I was aiming for.
it was all right. We all hung out that night and had a good time. Yeah, besides her, I mean, she did with everybody else, but not. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. And then we became closer friends as time went on, for sure.
Yeah.
Just seeing each other around, and then at some point we became friends to where we would hang out, just me and him, and we actually got along and had a lot of similarities in our lives. And then he would come DoorDash with me, so when I'm DoorDashing, I'm just driving for hours. So he would just tag along, and we'd just sit there and talk and hang out. And we ended up realizing, yeah, we were very similar in the paths, because he actually used to go to the same school that I went to.
Yeah, I went to Riverton when I was younger.
And then I guess that leads into the next topic of exes, because that's not the only person that we share the same past with, but I mean, we weren't going to go too in-depth with it, but yeah, we're Eskimo brothers in two different ways. So this is my brother right here, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. We told you we're a lot more similar than different.
Yeah, well, I guess we could just talk about like ex-girlfriends and how the ex-girlfriends have like moved their way away from our lives, but we haven't. Like we as bros kind of stayed bros, and I think the reason for that is probably because there's not too much emotion in the communication anymore. It's kind of just like he and I will talk, and we're just talking about things, and like we might not understand each other at first, but we could just have a conversation and explain it. So like, there's no bad blood about the exes. It's just it just happens to be funny because we're both moved on from all of that into our own phases, but
I feel like if anything, it makes us closer.
yeah. And I didn't know that was even the case until we were pretty good friends. Probably the third or fourth time we hung out, and then I realized, and I was like, oh shit, because he had been with my first girlfriend, and then
I remember being so nervous to bring this up because we had been getting tight with each other, and I was like, I don't want to tell this guy that his ex is in my past as well. But I told him because I was like, we're either gonna be bros or we're not. So I was honest with you, and I was like,
yeah, I appreciated the honesty though. That was cool. It was just it was abrupt. Like I didn't, because at first it makes you feel a certain way, but like you have no emotion. Like you have no tie to that person anymore, so you can't feel that emotion truly, because it's like it's just an egotistical feeling when you first get that, in my opinion. So if I were to have felt some type of way for an extended period of time, I feel like that would just be my ego, not who I truly was. Because I learned lessons and move on from that ex-girlfriend, and actually she was before the girl, so the girl we talked about at the beginning. So like it was well in the past. But I was pretty good friends with a good amount of his friends, and now we're at the same time hanging out in this similar circle. I mean, not completely, but like to a degree, we were hanging out just around similar people. So it made sense that we shared that at that time. Mm-hmm. It was just funny.
It was hilarious.
Unexpected, especially after the fact, but things happen and bros become bros, I guess.
But I think actually the second time I saw you was at Star 66.
Probably. Yeah, I used to work at this cafe overnight, and him and his friends had done some extracurriculars, then went on a long walk, and they ordered enough food for a full table to be full. if that lets you know what extracurricular they were doing.
Yeah.
But he was friends with a couple people I knew from high school, as well as just a couple other guys that were hanging out in the circle of friends that he was from around, and I had gotten along with. So we happened to get a lot closer, and then hang out a lot, and that even leads to right now out here we're just randomly in Georgia. So like I'm in Georgia and he's here. This is my first podcast, just so happens.
Yeah, this is where I'm stationed, and he's doing his journey that you guys have seen.
Yeah,
or maybe you haven't. You should go back and watch his videos.
Next topics. Food and training in the military, so we could just transition into it.
Okay.
So yeah, he's out here in Georgia, and we're actually on the I don't know if we could say that. We're on something right now, owned by the military. But yeah, if I gotta bleep that, I'll bleep it. But
We should be good.
we'll talk about. So what was it like when you first got in the military? Like, what did you have to do? What was the process? Because I know that it wasn't some cookie cutter thing. You just got in and it was good. You had to do a couple things.
Yeah, so I kind of joined the military on a whim. Like my dad and my brother, they were in the front seat of my dad's truck talking as they do, and they were like, the military's pretty cool. And started talking, I was like, I might enlist. And they were kind of like, yeah, that'd be cool. And like 2 days later, I was in the recruiting office, and that's that. But went through all the shit with that, decided I was going to go Army, and I had...
Where are you going to go?
Yeah, so I actually had a contract with the Marines, like I had a ship date and everything. But they wouldn't give me infantry, which I didn't want to go be a supporting MOS. Like an MOS is your occupation, like what you do within the military. And I knew I wanted to be one of the fighters. but I didn't know I didn't know much about the military. But they want to give me infantry because they were on some bullshit saying that my ASVAB was too high, but it wasn't. I had like an 83, and
Which is a good score. It's a good score.
it's decent. It goes out of 99 as a percentage, so you can't get 100, but it's based off a percentage.
Okay, it stopped because we hit 30 minutes, but we're gonna continue.
Okay, so I was saying that they want to give me infantry basically, and that pissed me off. And so I was like, I'm gonna go see what the other branches will offer me. And so I walked into the Army because I'm not trying to offend anybody, but these were my pre-beliefs before I got in the military. I was like, I don't like dudes, so I don't want to go to the Navy, and I don't want to sit in a chair. I want to fight, so I didn't do the Air Force, and so my only other option was the Army. And that's no shade or anything to the other branches. Like I'm not one of those Army guys that shits on the other branches. Respect to everybody, but that was what I was thinking before I got in. And so I went to the Army, and I was like, this is my situation. They won't give me infantry. I want that. And the guy was like, I can guarantee you that right now with a bonus. And I was like, a bonus? The Marines weren't offering me that at all. And I was like, if I can get infantry and you're going to give me money, I'll go drop this contract right now. And that was a process. I remember we had to get some, not a lawyer, but some like government official to get the Marines to drop me because they wouldn't. They wouldn't drop me. It was all fucked up, but they eventually got it done. And I knew I wanted infantry, but then my Army recruiter, he started talking to me more about the other avenues I could take through infantry, and he talked to me about Green Berets, which is a special operations group in the Army, and I thought that was badass. I was like, hell yeah, I want to make something of myself, because the whole reason I decided the Army is because I dropped all sports in high school because I was a music nerd, and I felt like that's my biggest regret, is not playing sports in high school, because I felt like I didn't showcase my athleticism. Like, I felt like I left a lot on the table to prove to people. Yeah. So I was like, I want to be athletic, and if I can make a special operations group, I was like, fuck yeah. Like, I'm going to show these guys back home, like, what I can really do. And so I signed that, it's called an 18X, to go to infantry basic and OSIT, and then after that I would have gone straight to the Green Beret selection. But getting into, I finally got shipped off. It was February 7th of 2022, and I went to the MEP station, did my final little checkups, went to go to basic, and that was the toughest shit I've ever been through. Those guys that have been through 30th AG know what I'm talking about. That was hell.
What's a day like if you were to wake up there, take it through the beginning of the day?
Okay.
Even before you start, just say about how many hours you get of sleep, then when you get up, and then go through it.
Okay, so this is 30th AG, so it's like a holding center before you go to basic. You have to do all your shots, all the medical shit, like your eyes, everything. And we'd wake up. I don't remember the exact time. It was kind of early, but it wasn't crazy early. I want to say it was maybe 5:30 or 6. It was
pretty early.
It wasn't, not according to some of these times that you'll hear soon, but
okay.
So it was rough because I had a shady sleeping schedule before I got in, and I'm definitely a night owl. Like, I had your sleeping schedule.
Yeah.
But you would do that, and then you would go and sit in this gym in a desk, like a high school desk, and you're just waiting to do these appointments. But you don't have your phone anymore, which, like, my recruiter told me I would. I had a girlfriend, or a girl I was dating at this time, and I was nervous about it because I cared about her, and I was all freaked out because I didn't get to say a proper goodbye to any of my family or her, and I was beat the fuck up. Like, we would wake up, we would sit in this thing. The only thing you had was your, like, Army handbook or what. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like you can read how to do battle drills, and it was just bullshit. Like, you're just sitting there, and you'd be in there for, it depended. I felt like some of the days we were in there till like 5 or 6, like right before dinner chow. But in the middle of the day, you'd get like a lunch as well, and you ate really good then.
So you were just in the desk majority of the day?
Yeah, just sitting there waiting to do appointments.
And what were the appointments like? Well, if you can talk about that.
Yeah, it's just normal getting into the military shit. Like, everyone knows the peanut butter shot. It's like this giant shot that they put in your ass, and you can't sit for a week. Like, you're just like, dude, it was the worst. It sounds kind of gay, but it had me fucked up. Like, and at this time, you also get like your uniforms, and I don't know if other people call it this, but like the guys I work with, we call them the dirty 30s. They're like the military issue boot they give you when you first get in, and they are the worst boots you'll ever wear in your life. And your feet are hurting from these new boots not being broken in. You got like your your ass is fucked because they put a fat ass needle in there, and so you're just going through doing all these medical things, like your sight, like getting your baseline so that if anything happened to you throughout the military, they can track that progress. So they're just getting your like baseline meds, and so that's what you're doing through the day. Like I said, you eat pretty good. Like, it was normal defect food, like military shit, but you could eat, like, they serve you your portions for the main things, but then there's like the salad bar, which isn't really salad. It's like you got like Nutri-Grain bars, cookies. Like, I ate pretty good there. Like, I was like doing a lot of weight training. Like, I was on a big cut for some reason before I went in, and so I was pretty light. I think I was like 168 or something like that when I first got to basic, and so this is the first time I was letting myself eat like whatever the fuck I wanted. So I was like pretty bloated. Like, I just felt like shit because I had thrown my diet away, and I was waking up earlier. But you would get off around, like I said, like right after dinner chow. You might have had to go back in after dinner chow.
Go back in and do what?
Like more appointments.
Okay.
But it wouldn't have been super late. So you could get, I slept really good. Like, you would sleep in a bay with like all these bunk beds and lockers with like 100 other dudes plus. And so you're in the open, and they would not turn off the lights. Like, all these guys were just hyped. Like, you're just around a bunch of fucking meatheads that like are excited to be in the military. And then there's people that are nervous, like me. I was very depressed when I first got in. I was like, oh shit, I fucked up. I remember the first day sitting in those desks, they buzzed my head, and like, I've always had like shaggy hair, and I was like, I fucked up. I know I did. I remember, this would make me sound like a pussy, but I remember crying in there, and I actually made one of my best buds. His name's Kenji, and I met him, and like, we're still buddies. We ended up going to the same basic somehow, but
So that wasn't basic. That was what?
that was like where they hold you right before you go to basic. They give you
How long was that?
For me, it depends on who you are, but I was there for I think 10 days, like
Okay.
exactly 10 days.
And then what was the day like when you got into basic? And where? Well, you don't got to talk about where it was at, but was your basic in a different area of the nation than normal?
No, it was at the same base. I've been here my entire military career.
So it was all in Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what was the day like of basic? Because that sounds like it'd probably be harder.
I actually felt way more comfortable once I got to basic, because like I got my like pity for myself out there at 30th AG, and then the first day at basic, I remember pulling up in the bus, and the drill sergeants are all there waiting for you, and like, you get out of the bus and they're like, fucking run, and you got all your shit on your back. Like, you got 2 duffel bags, like all this shit, and they're like, fucking run, and they're like leading us. Everyone's like freaking the fuck out. This is the first time like we've been like.
So right off the bus, you run.
You run up this massive hill, because I went to basic on the part of base called Sand Hill.
That's great. I didn't know that was a thing. That's
Yeah,
cool.
like,
Oh,
we
yeah.
got off the bus and they're like, follow us, and like, well, at first I think they might have done accountability, but they're already like on your ass, like,
Yeah.
or what I thought was on your ass, but they're like screaming at us. Everyone's like snapping into it, like everyone's like on their P's and Q's, and so we like run up the hill, and like there's so many. I don't know if I want to shit on people in the military, but like all the out of shape guys are like like sucking wind. It was a disaster. It was pretty gross, and I think I remember like 4 kids throwing up just from like probably the anxiety.
First day?
Yeah,
Wow.
like first 30 minutes.
Wow.
I think it was mostly anxiety, but then maybe a little bit out of shape, couldn't breathe or something. But then you like do your bag dumps, make sure you got everything, get rid of your contraband. And then from there, there's like different phases of OSIT. There's like the red phase. Like OSIT is 1 station unit training, which involves your BCT, which is basic, and then your AIT, which is your advanced individual training.
Schooling.
Yeah, so like this is where like AIT is where you learn your shit. BCT is where everybody in the military, like everybody in the Army goes there, and it's like a 9-week thing.
This basic, then it funnels off for AIT.
Yeah.
You might go here, you might go here, you might go here.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're choosing to go into, as far as I can understand, is your AIT. You kind of go for with your group to that.
Yeah, but for infantry, it's one station unit training. So like your BCT and your AIT are held in the same place. Like when I finished basic, I stayed at the same company in the same building in the same bay. Like nothing changed for us for 22 weeks. And so there really isn't a normal day in basic because there's like lots of different training events that are at different times. Sometimes.
What's one training event you remember that was like, you could take me through like what a day would have been like?
I feel
Someone
like the best
watching
thing,
might want to join, and if they do, hopefully this can help them a little bit.
Okay. Well, I think for me, I would say the most thing I was like excited for was the shooting portion because I didn't really shoot guns before I got in, and so that's what I could probably remember best.
Okay.
But you'd wake up probably maybe 5 in the morning, maybe 4, depending on when you needed to be there, how long, what you were doing that day at the range. But you'd wake up decent, like pretty early.
You get breakfast?
This is another thing that depends. Like, you would either go to the chow hall and eat, or if it was early enough, you would leave and you would eat chow at the range. Which that could be they brought chow from the chow hall, or you're eating MREs.
MREs are like meals on the go for people who don't know.
Yeah, it's like
I've had a couple when I was a little kid just to try them.
they're not terrible, but eating them frequently is not good for your bowel movements.
Right.
But so you'd wake up pretty early. All night there's like this thing called weapons guard or fire guard. So like every hour, 2 new people are going to that shift. So every night, pretty much you would be up at some random time in the middle of the night to pull that shift. But so you do that during sleep. You'd wake up anywhere between, I'll say 6, because I'm pretty sure there might have been a later sleep in too, but we'll say between 4 and 6. You would wake up, either do PT or go straight to the range.
What's a PT like? What was some of the things you do?
It's pretty gay and basic. Like you don't do you think it would be intense shit, like you're doing crazy stuff, but you go out to the rocks and you would stretch. Maybe do like 30 push-ups within the stretching, but it was pretty gay.
Not much running?
Sometimes we would do like 60-30s, which is like 60 minutes or 60 or 30-60s, 30 seconds of running, 60 seconds of walking.
Okay.
And so we would do that around the track. But they'd be like, we're going to do 8 30s, 30-60s, and like all the big boys were freaking out because
right.
that's 4 minutes total of running, and they were freaking out. But we might do that, or maybe we would do like a push-up sit-up drill, which is just is like.
Was there a baseline of running you had to do at the very beginning?
Yeah, there's like the Army standards, which I don't know them because they're so ridiculous. Like the Army standard on the test is a 2 mile, and I think for my age group, you can run like a 22-minute 2 mile and still fall in the Army standards, which is fucked. But that's a thing. And so like we might do 30-60s or something with a little bit of running. There's never group runs like where you'd go run like actual mileage.
Okay.
But then you might do a push-up sit-up drill, but most of the time you're doing like stretching. It was pretty dumb.
Can you do that before you go shoot though sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then you'd go to the range, and like the first thing you do when you shoot is they take you to zero your like iron sights. So you go to the range and you're just zeroing, which is like they give you 40 rounds, and you shoot like 5-round groups, and you just try to zero that in pretty much. Like if you know how to zero a gun, that's pretty much it. You shoot, you move your sights until you dial it in where you're aiming is where you're hitting. And that's like the first day, but you do that, and then you're in a company of 200 plus dudes, so you shoot your 40 rounds, maybe not even. If you get zero before that, you might shoot 10 rounds. It's just varied by people. And then you would go sit in like stands, like football stands pretty much, behind like the firing line, obviously, and you just sit back there, and you can't sleep, you can't read, you just gotta sit there. No talking. They would
Oh.
get, yeah, you're just sitting in metal bleachers and kit, which is like your vest. You got your helmet. Sometimes,
it's a bunch of you and you guys can't talk.
yeah.
Okay.
And they're like, anybody that's worn like the normal Army helmets, they suck. Like, they just hurt your head. Like, they're like Velcro padding that you put in there, but they're hard as fuck. And you just gotta wear that for, sometimes it'd be cool and they'd be like, if you shot, put on your PC. And so you could put on your little cap, which is just like the Army hat.
Okay. PC more comfortable though.
Way.
Okay.
Yeah. But even then, having something on your head all day, like, I never wear hats or anything like that. So like having something sucked on my head all day, like I would get terrible headaches. But that's what you do, and you just like bake in the sun pretty much. And then after that, that also depends on how long. But I don't think it was anything crazy. We never shot into the dark, not at first, because like that's a different type of.
But you might be out there shooting all day.
Yeah, you are.
And you'll be
Definitely
taking breaks between each time you shoot and sitting in the bleachers.
Yeah, but if you probably aren't shooting again, like in the zeroing, you'll zero and you're done.
You're done for the day and you're just chilling the whole day without talking and not.
Yeah, I would write letters. I wrote letters every single day.
To people back home.
Yeah, my ex-girlfriend, I wrote her a letter every single day. Since the day I left, even before I got to basic in that holding period, I wrote a letter from then till the day I
How long do those take to get out? Well, how long do those take for them to get to them and then you get a message back?
I don't know exactly. Every day, like how I said there was that weapons guard or something, the last shift of that before you woke up, those people would take the mail. Okay. So before you go to bed, you put your mail on the desk and then they would take it. Okay. And so every day I would send it out. And I'm not sure the turnaround time for them getting my letters, but there was actually like a whole investigation into my basic because they were holding our mail. Like we got mail like 4 times in 22 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, and so.
And your basic was 22 weeks. That's longer than the normal basic, right?
Well, it was like I say basic, but it was OSIT, like the 9 weeks of basic and then 13 weeks of AIT for infantry.
Oh, okay.
So that 22 weeks of me being at Sand Hill, I got mail like 4, maybe 5 times, and so there's like a whole investigation. It's like fucked, but
it's like mail once every 5 weeks, every month and a week.
Yeah.
So very, very seldom.
Yeah, and so it was kind of depressing because you were like, is nobody writing me? But then like, I wrote letters to my ex-girlfriend, my grandmas, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, my cousins, my aunts and uncles. Like I was a big writer because, like I said, I was kind of beat up about being in. Like I was depressed, I guess. But so like one thing that helped me a lot was journaling. Like I would write out to what I did, how well I did. I was very like self-critical of how I was doing.
Right.
But so you do that, and then you'd come back. You'd eat at MRE for lunch. You might be back in time for chow hall. And if you did that, then you're done after that. You'd clean your weapons. You would get back, maybe eat before, or you would clean your weapon and eat while you do that. But that would be like a pretty long time. Like in basic, they tell you to have that shit spotless. Like if there's any little bit of like carbon buildup, they'll get on your ass about it. And so
they were very particular about certain things.
It's just basic. They're trying to like break you. So like they're just like gay about every little thing. Like you have no control over your life.
Just trying to weed you out. If you're not built for it, they just want you to get you out before you really go into the rest.
Yes.
That's when it can get real, as far as I understand. I'm not through it, but I have friends that have explained it to a degree to me. But it seems like the basic, they really try to weed you out if you're not built for it.
Yeah, pretty much. But don't be worried you can't get into the military, because I know a lot of guys that.
Yeah, some of my friends that were not very athletic or not very disciplined individuals have made it and done fine. So
yeah,
don't be afraid of it if it's something that you want to do.
And that's not me like shitting on people that I work with or have gone through basic with, but I think a lot of different, like there's a big group of random, like there's a variety of personalities and upbringings that go there. And a lot of people that I didn't care for or thought were shitbags when I first got there were some of my best buddies that worked really hard. Like, I'm not saying the people I worked with were shitty or out of shape or something. Almost everybody in my OSIT that made it through, like, got squared away for the most part. So I'm not shitting on people in the military. I'm just saying, like, when I first got there was a lot of people that were like loose cannons almost.
Right. They'll teach you respect and how to handle yourself like a soldier.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest takeaway I've got from my buddies that have talked to me about basic is that they really will teach you about a lot of things, like things you might have learned some respect in school or from your parents, but it's a different ball game when you're there and you got a sergeant or whoever it is yelling at you. Maybe it's not a sergeant, I'm not sure.
You learn respect for people you don't have respect for.
Right. All right, we'll go on to next one. So that's basically just a little overview of, getting into the military, and now you went through AIT, right?
Yeah, I've gone through all that basic stuff.
And for now, you're just doing a job here.
Yeah, I can talk about it if you want to hear it. If you want me to explain.
Just basic, brief.
Okay, so I said that I had that Special Forces contract, but I ended up dropping that to pick up Option 40 attachment, which is a 75th Ranger Regiment. So pretty much that means that instead of going to the Green Beret selection, I would be going to the 75th Ranger Regiment selection, which is called RASP. And so right out of OSIT, I graduated. 3 days later after graduation, I went over to the RASP 1, and I went to pre-RASP. I was there for 5 or 6 weeks, and then I passed the class up test. I went through RASP, made it through, and after RASP, got my beret and everything, and I went over to Airborne, got my Airborne wings, which is like RASP is 8 weeks, so pre-RASP, RASP, that's 13 weeks about that I spent there. Then I went to post-RASP, was there for about 2-3 weeks. Airborne, which is 3 weeks, is where they just teach you how to jump, or teach you how to fall out of an airplane pretty much.
18 weeks plus the 22, so 40 weeks total at this point. Of things
22 of OSIT.
Then the 13, and
So about 16 more plus 22, so like 38. So
okay.
yeah, about 40. Okay. Yeah, and then after that, the day I graduated Airborne, I got back to post-RASP and they brought me over to the company that I work at now. And I've been here for 1 year and what's 25 minus 9? 16 days.
1 year and 16 days. So you did about 9 months specific training. Mm-hmm. Well, basic and specific training. Kind of just getting yourself to now. And then now what's next? If you can talk about it.
Yeah, I will go to CERT, which is like a preschool to Ranger school, which is a leadership course that every Ranger has to go to. And so on January 7th, I go to CERT, which is a 3-week train up. If I pass that, on the 28th, I'll go to Ranger school, which is 62 days of 3 phases. So if you go straight through, it's 62 days, but that's kind of rare. They say you're not a Ranger if you didn't get recycled.
What's that mean, recycled?
So there's the 3 phases, and you can get dropped or recycled for like peers, one of your patrols if you didn't do it the right way. Like you get goes, you get 2 to 3 like looks is what they call them, where you're going and you take a leadership position and you go through a mission or you plan a mission. You don't know if you're going to get planning or hands-on.
So it's just more work.
Yeah.
But is it because you messed up, or what is it because?
No matter, the recycle? Yeah, the recycle is if you messed up or got peered. So everybody in your class, you have to do like a peers where you like reflect on everybody in your squad. And if you peer, I don't remember I think it's 60. I don't know, I could be wrong with that, I haven't been. But if you hit a certain peer, you get recycled. But if you, let's say you peered twice in a certain phase.
So is recycle good or is that bad?
Recycle isn't great, but you're not dropped from the school. A recycle, let's say I'm in the first phase, which is Darby. If I get recycled, I start day 1 of Darby again.
All right.
I'm not dropped from Ranger School, but I have to do that phase again. But if I get recycled for the same thing twice in the same phase, like if I got peered, I went through Darby, I got peered after going through, I would go to Darby again, but let's say I get peered again, they're dropping me.
Okay, and then you're done. Or
you can go back later.
Okay.
Unless you I had a buddy I worked with that had contraband. He had peanut butter Zens and pre-workout in his locker, and he kind of got caught. He kind of gave himself up. They did an amnesty period where they're like, hey, nobody's getting in trouble, but if you have this, tell us now. Which it never do that. First of all, I just don't have contraband. But like, if you do have it and they say amnesty period, don't believe those motherfuckers. Because he believed them, and then they dropped him for it, and he got a NTR, never to return, so he can't go back. So he actually got kicked out of Ranger Regiment, and he is now.
So now he's what? Just part of the basic army?
He's in the big army. He's like at the 82nd, which is airborne.
Okay.
It's an airborne unit.
So seems like they're pretty strict in there. But the route he's going is kind of a harder route, so not everybody who wants to go in the military has to do exactly the way he's doing it. It's just interesting to me, and hopefully I'm sure someone else, because it's the harder route of some of the routes out there. All right, and then well, he kind of mentioned it a little bit, the Zins, but we'll talk about nicotine. And I just wanted to bring this up because I think a lot, if not everybody, a good portion of people in the military get on nicotine or are on nicotine while they're here. Can you do that you can't do that at the basic training?
No, so that's actually funny you say that. You can't do it at basic, that's contraband, like big no-no, but people find their ways. And I definitely had nicotine in basic.
We might have to bleep that.
Dude, I have a crazier story. That this might need bleep, but I'll tell you, and it stays. But I was in the pre-rasp, and I had a vape, which was contraband in pre-rasp. No nicotine still in pre-rasp before the selection. And I had a vape in my locker, and I wake up that morning, and they will go and dump your lockers in pre-rasp.
Dump, like check it.
They'll throw all your shit out, dump your shampoo. Like, there's so many stories I can tell about rasps that were so inhumane. It was.
So they're just dumping it to bully you, or are they dumping it to look
to get in your head? Both. Like, the first day of rasp, well, I'll finish this, but I woke up that morning and I had my vape in my locker. I'm chiefing it, and I was like, I don't know why, I just feel like I'm gonna get caught with this. So I went and I put it in a closet, like high up on top of a fire alarm, so nobody could see it. Nobody knew I put it there. But I told my buddy, one of my close buddies, I was like, hey dude, I just have a weird feeling we shouldn't have this in our locker. And he's like, nah dude, it's fine. I was like, okay, I hid mine. And he's like, nah, I think I'll be fine. That same day, we walked down there, 20 minutes later, they're like, okay, we're doing a health and wellness, which is like a locker check. They're dumping lockers. And I was like, whew, like I got so lucky, but I'm thinking about my buddy, and he actually got dropped, so he didn't get to go through rasp with me.
Wow, that is crazy.
And he was
randomly you got that feeling.
Yeah.
Maybe you're in touch with a spiritual being.
No, that was God. Look, and through basic, I got very in touch with my religion. Like, I got baptized in basic. Okay. I really leaped into that, and I'm glad I did. Like, it grounds me.
For sure. Especially through tough shit.
Yeah, I prayed every night, every day.
All right, and personally, I'm going to talk about myself with nicotine. I personally do nicotine. The reason I do nicotine is I think it's fine for you, which you see a lot of soldiers doing it, and a lot of them are in great shape. But, don't base your decisions off other people, in my opinion. But the reason I do it is because it's a stimulant. It makes your brain work better. So I think a lot of the time it can help people. Maybe not people in the military based on their standards, but for me, I believe so. I don't think you should vape. I don't think you should smoke, but doing nicotine through something like a Zen pouch or something like maybe a Nicorette would be just fine. And I do that because it's a stimulant, and I think it's addicting, but it's also, I think it's more addicting the way that people do it. Like, you'll do it if you're stressed, but if you don't do it if you're stressed and you just do it at certain times during the day, I heard Alex Harmozy talk about this. You can use it for your advantage, and it can be a stimulant. It's got a half-life of 30 minutes, and for about 2 hours you'll be pretty wired, and so maybe 30 minutes after that it'll kind of go away, but I can still fall asleep off nicotine, and I know a lot of other people who can as well. But I personally do caffeine and nicotine, and those are the only two things I do to help myself focus and be more kind of in tune with what I'm doing, especially whenever I'm working. But we'll go on to...
I want to add one more thing about the nicotine. I said I vaped. I don't vape anymore because, like, a big part of us is running. Like, I run a lot.
Right.
And so I don't vape anymore, which, like, if you're thinking about getting in the military, I don't think nicotine's bad either. Like, I have my Zins right here. Like, I stay on it. It's in my mouth all day. Pause. But I don't think nicotine is bad either. It helps me get through the day. I sleep fine. But vaping, if you want to be an endurance athlete, save your lungs.
Yeah, vape's got carbon monoxide in it, so whenever you're smoking anything at all, carbon monoxide going in your lungs is poisonous. So stay away. Even though I vaped before,
But drunk cigarettes don't count.
I guess. All right. What about you said you sang a lot whenever you were in high school. Did you ever get bullied for that?
Oh, so I didn't actually ever sing.
All right, it stopped again, but we're at 1 hour right now.
So he asked if I sang in high school, and I didn't. But I got into college, and I started picking up the piano. I taught myself piano, and I started like posting me singing on my story, and like I did get bullied pretty heavy for that. Like,
I asked because I figured so. Because personally, I like singing, but I'm not the best at it. But at some point, I'll sing on the camera, and you guys can judge me all you want.
I'll be in the comments. But I don't claim to be a vocalist. I'm not that good. I just enjoy it, and so I tried to do it, and it was nerve-wracking. Obviously, like posting, all my homies saw it, like.
Right.
But I definitely got shit on, and still do if I post one, which I don't do it too much. I just don't have the time, but I do it, and I didn't stop because it was something I enjoyed, and I knew I wasn't good. I wasn't trying to impress anybody, so I didn't let that really affect me. When people.
That's good, though. I think that bullying comes from Where do you think bullying comes from, personally, before I tell where I think it comes from?
I think it can come from a lot of places, whether it be how you were raised, it just becomes your nature, or I think it comes from insecurity.
Do you think that it can ever be good, bullying?
Yes.
I think so, too.
I got bullied in high school pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, by these older classmen when I was a freshman. And I don't think that since I got bullied, it, like, changed me, like, the way I acted, but I had a friend that got bullied pretty hard. I was a senior and he was a freshman. And I like kind of took him under my wing, I guess, and he got bullied because he was colored in a school with nobody being colored. And people would say things, and it made me want to stick up for the little guy for sure. It changed me in that way. But I think healthy bullying is okay. I don't know. It's a complex topic. Like if somebody, like fat shaming to somebody you don't know is kind of fucked up. But like
Right.
if you're like telling your best bud that's gained weight is unhealthy and you're like, bro, you need to lose weight,
Right.
fat ass. Like I can make, if you were fat, I would say that to you, and
Right.
you would know that I'm not calling you a fat ass because we're friends, but like you would need to hear that you need to lose weight.
Sometimes you think it could be necessary.
I
In
think
the right context, if a person's not in a position where they're probably going to go harm themselves or something like that, I do think that bullying can be just fine. It's dependent on, like, are you saying it from a hateful perspective, or are you saying it because you genuinely want that person to do better? That's the way I see bullying. Because there was times in my life I would get bullied, not too much. I can't sit here and say I was bullied, but there was bullying, or people who would try to bully me, mostly females actually, would bully me, and they would call me annoying or whatever for asking questions or not understanding from a certain perspective. And it definitely bothered me a lot and changed me to a degree. But personally now, I feel like bullying is, I have a different outlook on it. I probably could have been a bully in the past as well, and it probably didn't come from the best of places back then, and now I'm much more aware of it. But the thing about all of it is that it can be helpful in the right context. So I think that bullying is a complex issue, like you said, but it can be helpful. Just make sure that your intent of your heart is right if you are ever going to bully. And if you were bullied, don't let people change who you are. That's the way I see it. You can always still be a good person even if you got a bunch of haters. You can still be just fine. I'm sure preachers get shit on all the time, but they still preach. So
I want you to say what you said to me. We were talking the other day in here, and we were talking about, like, I want to say that he was bullying me when we had our, like, conflict, but he was talking about why he was acting like that. And I think, like, the way you said that to me the other day made a lot of sense. Like, how you got upset with me because you wanted me to act how you would act.
Right.
I think people should hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do make comments or bully or kind of just, they'll say certain things because it can come from a projection. So whenever I acted that way towards him, that, in my opinion, was a projection, because my standard for myself would have been like, I would pay her right away just because it was a woman, and I'm different between men and women for sure. So call me sexist right now if you want, but men and women are different, and the way I saw it was like, this is another man that's not doing the way I would have with a woman, which personally I've taken a step back from that, but there is still a lot of me that's like that, that kind of thinks that people will bully because they want you to do what they would do instead of you just being able to live your life. They want you to live how they want you to, how they would live. So for example, I might have a person who comments on my video and hates on me and says I do this wrong or I'm saying this wrong because they wouldn't say it that way, but your uniqueness is within the way you do certain things. So if your intention of your heart is good, I feel like it's fine to a degree. Don't go and tell anybody to hurt themselves or harm themselves, because you never know. They could be going through so many things from the back burner. But I think that a lot of bullying comes from projection of who someone is, and they want you to be that person. They want to hold the same standard for you that they have for themselves. And I don't think that it's always fair, but like I said, he said at first, bullying's complex. It's definitely complex. And I think every single person that's watching this has dealt with or will be a bully or has dealt with bullying or vice versa, all of it, actually. I think everybody's going to get bullied, and everybody has been the bully at some time in their life. And just be aware when you're doing something like that of where it's coming from. Try to be, at least. Obviously, you can't completely conclude it, but to a degree you can. And I think that it does come from people wanting you to be just like them or something like them. Or maybe just because you're different than them, they'll call it out. But I think, yeah, a lot of projection comes from people just saying they want you to be this way, and you might not be, so they're going to call you out on it. And you can't really let people change who you are, but some people might have something good to say. Like, if I'm being an asshole and someone calls me an asshole, to a degree, you should take that into consideration. Like, you shouldn't stop your life and put it on halt, in my opinion, but you should try to understand where they're coming from with that comment. And if they're coming from a place where they just want you to be like them, then fuck them. But if not, and they really mean it and they want you to do better, then I think that it's appropriate to take that into consideration.
But I feel like, not to keep going on a tangent about this, but
That's important.
you also need to realize who's confronting you about what. Like, if you're being an asshole to a random guy like you just said, listen to that. But let's say you're walking down the street and some guy wants to be like, hey, nice shoes, whatever slur he wants to say or offensive term.
Yeah,
What
that's
does
a projection.
What does his opinion matter?
I believe that's projection.
Listen to
sure.
the people that are close to you.
Close to you, or hold some sort of weight. Maybe they had been close to you, or they know you to a degree, or they've been a teammate, or they know someone who knows something specific about you. Just about, I'd say, investigate the integrity of the comment. Is it actually something that they would say again, or would they regret it in the future? Because, yeah, I listed bullying on here because I think bullying is important, and a lot of people will deal with it. So it's something I want to talk about in my podcast regularly. And then I guess we could just segue into the last one, because we talked about singing a little bit. Passions. What are you passionate about specifically? What do you want to do after the military, or with your job in the military? What passion is it? Or what do you want to do with your time and your life?
My biggest passion is, this sounds super cheesy, but I want to be successful in my eyes. Whether that, my biggest
What would
passion.
that take?
I want to be a healthy individual. Money isn't a big factor for me. A lot of people will be like I know you have goals of making a certain amount of money, which I don't think is negative, but for me, I've lived at times where I've been very poor and been very happy. Right. And for me, I value this is not going against like what your goals are, like in terms of wanting to grow money. I think that's I would
Yeah.
like to do that too, but I want to be happy and people make me happy. Like people I care about being happy around me, providing them with that. I, w- I have a amazing girlfriend right now, and like my goal with that was hopefully she can be the one, and I want to be able to provide for her and my family and them not have struggles. Like
Right.
I don't want it to be that. My passion would be being the most like I don't know how to say it. It's complex again, but
Competent as you can. Is that what you think?
yeah, like I want to be a very well-rounded human that gets along with everybody and can support my family. Like
What about when you don't get along with someone? What do you want the reason for that to be?
if I don't get along with somebody, a misunderstanding. I that was our whole thing. Like we didn't know each other and we misunderstood each other, and that's why we weren't friends.
Personally, because the reason I ask that is because I think I'll get along with the 95, 97% of people, but the people I don't get along with, I want it to be because I see their moral character to be a negative detriment to society. So I'm not saying I want to go beat them up, even though I might. But I do think that if I'm going to disagree with someone, I want it to be for a purpose, to where I'm disagreeing so I can help them. But that's interesting you said that because, like, for me it's the same thing. Money is not really the thing. I think money is really important, especially for me trying to open businesses and provide something for the community. But I'd overall like to work towards money not even being real in my head.
Yeah.
Where at some point money's gone and I'm just worried about, okay, I could help one person, and say for example I help 5 people today. My helping is valuable in terms of money, but at some point where I don't even have to look at the time or the amount of money I'm spending. So I go Christmas shopping or I go out with my friends and we don't worry about anything. I
Yeah.
want to be at that point at some point. Sounds like similar for you to a degree.
Yeah.
Do you want to be able to take care of people, or do you want to be able to take care of like your family specifically, or your friends on top of that? What is it for you?
I feel like I'm a very loving person. I feel like I want to take my friends end up becoming my family. Like I have a lot of close buddies. Like I feel like you are family. Like we're in the same situation, away from home for Christmas.
Right.
We're away from our
It's Christmas today, by the way, guys.
Like, yeah, we're away from our loved ones, and like he didn't get nothing from anybody. So we
My
went
dad
to,
got me some stuff. Well, he did get me some money actually, and then my mom, she got me an electric kettle, but you know I'm not in there to physically get it, and so neither is he.
So like we went to dinner tonight together, like, and I want like I don't know. I guess like friends become family,
Right.
and when I say family, I mean my close group of people, because I want to have lasting friendships. I want to be the 50-year-old dad where Uncle Tanner comes over
Right.
and my kids get excited. Like
Yeah. I personally have a friend now who they call me uncle, and we're not actually related, but they have children, and they call me uncle, and it's a great feeling that they consider me to be family, and they trust me around their children. They trust me to be a person that I am. I agree with that, for sure.
yeah.
And then, like anything specific, like any specific career you want to do, anything specific, like physically doing. Not only about who you are, but more about
Like
anything.
my individual goals.
Yeah,
and
like do you
passions.
want to say, for example, like mine was, I knew I wanted to make a YouTube channel at some point specifically and talk about certain things at some point specifically. Is there anything like that you want to do? Like, and if not, it's not a big deal because we're still young.
Yeah, I'm definitely in a child's mindset with that stuff. I like keep putting it on the back burner. Like I got 4 years left in my contract.
It'll still change for sure anyways,
Yeah.
most likely, as you develop.
I don't know if I'll stay in or if I'll get out. If I get out, I would probably take some form of police, like SWAT or maybe FBI, something more high speed than a traffic stop. But
Okay.
my like whatever I do, I want to be athletic within that. I know that for sure. I won't get out and be a paper pusher. That might be the reason I stay in, because that'll probably most likely. I'm 22 years old with no college degree and an infantryman. Like, I don't have a great resume to go be a businessman or anything like that. Maybe if I get out, I don't know. There's a lot of avenues that, like how you're podcasting. Like, there's a lot of famous guys that have gotten out. Sean Ryan podcast that I was talking to you about. Ex-Navy SEAL got out, and
I think that'd be a really good idea.
I think I would like doing that. Start my own brand with that. But hopefully I can do some shit that's worth talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'd like to do something athletic, and like that's one of my passions is being the best at what I want to be at. But whatever that passion might be. So
you still think you're figuring it out?
yeah.
And that's fine. Like I said, we're young, so I'm 24. People might be my age and think, oh, we're getting old, but no, we're not. We just started, because whenever I was 18, that was 6 years ago. And 6 years is nothing. If I live to 70, that's 52 years. 6 is 10% of that, pretty much. So, no, I'm just getting started. If anyone watching this is in their 20s and you think you're old, shut up. You ain't old, dude. You're a woman. You're just not yet, so you're fine if you're still figuring it out, because I talked about YouTube since I was like 15, and I started at 24, and I think I'll be just fine. I think I'm going to do great with this stuff. I think he'll be just fine with whatever he chooses, even if he were to choose it at 31 or 42. Still young. Or even 49. Still young. You know, look at when Joe Rogan started, so keep your head up, people. Anything you want to say else?
I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, for sure. This is my first podcast, so shout out to him. Shout out to Jake for hopping on and being the first one. I've reached out to several friends, and, you know, like I said in one of my YouTube videos, I'm not some famous influencer that's going to have all this contact with all these people. And I'm just going to talk to my friends because I think that they're interesting. And it's a conversation, and it's somewhere to start. And it's something to look back on in the future as well. So, if you want to put your Instagram on there, feel free.
I don't have any social media.
Oh, no social media.
No,
All right.
I'm not a social media guy.
All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I hope it was insightful. I hope anyone who's going in the military could learn at least a little bit of something or could relate. And if not, let me know. Let me know what you want to see next. Let me know a conversation topic you want me to talk about. I'll do one of these again soon. So shout out to you, friend.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And see you guys later. Thank you very much.